Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Mina and the Undead by Amy McCaw. I would like to thank the publisher for sending me an e-arc of this book so that I could review it. Now let me just start off by reading the summary of the book for y'all. New Orleans Fang Fest, 1995. Mina's having a summer to die for. 17-year-old Mina from England arrives in New Orleans to visit her estranged sister, Libby. After growing up in the town that inspired Dracula, Mina loves nothing more than a creepy horror movie. She can't wait to explore the city's darkest secrets: vampire tours, seedy bars, spooky cemeteries, disturbing local myths, and it even gets better when Mina lands a part-time job at a horror movie mansion and meets Jared, Libby's gorgeous housemate, co-worker, and fellow horror enthusiast. But the perfect summer bliss is broken when, while exploring the mansion, Mina stumbles upon the body of a girl with puncture marks on her neck, clutching a lock of hair that suspiciously resembles Libby's. Someone is replicating New Orleans' most brutal supernatural killings. Mina must discover the truth and prove her sister's innocence before she becomes the victim of another myth. So I rated this book 3 stars. Overall, I had a fun time with it. I enjoyed it. It was a nice, quick, easy read. But I have to start this review by exposing myself. And that is because even though when I originally agreed to read this e-arc of this book, I knew the summary because I hadn't heard of the book before, so I wanted to know what it was about, I entirely and completely forgot the fact that it was about vampires. I have been in a vampire mood recently, as all of you already know. I have just been trying to read as many vampire books as I can, so past me clearly was thinking about that when she agreed to read this book, but when I started it, I was convinced this was about zombies. I don't know why my brain jumped from the undead being zombies and not vampires, but that is the connection my brain made. So by the time the book actually revealed its main focus is on vampires, I was like, oh, wait a second, this is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. Regardless, obviously, that was not a detriment of this book because I'm all about my vampire shit. So I just wanted to share with y'all that I'm stupid. So my favorite thing about this book were the plot twists. I have to say that a lot of the twists that happened in this book I did not anticipate at all. Even though I felt like they were properly established, like it's not like they came completely out of nowhere, I still felt like it took twists and turns that I wasn't anticipating, and that made it very exciting. It was especially exciting in the last quarter of the book. That's where most of the twists were, and it kind of kept you really on your toes because it would tell you one thing and then it turned into another thing and then it turned into another thing and then you found out something else that is related but not exactly contradictory, and then another twist around that would happen. So it was a lot, and I would say that I felt like a few of those twists could have been spaced out a little bit more throughout the book, because overall most of the book is pretty chill. Like, we have a few key moments of high tension, but I feel like if some of the twists had come a little bit earlier, then we could have had more tension throughout the entirety of the novel. But still, overall, I would say that the twists were one of the strengths of this book. Another of the things I enjoyed about this novel was its focus on sisterhood. It really has at the center of it the sibling relationship between Mina and Libby. There is a lot of tension between these two sisters because Mina feels abandoned by Libby. They already have an estranged relationship with their mother, so Mina saw her sister as like the last person she had left because their dad was also super flaky. So Mina was like, Libby is my person. But then Libby decides to leave England and go to New Orleans for college, and Mina's just like, what the fuck? So when Mina comes to visit and see Libby, she wants to talk about this. She wants to have a conversation with Libby about how she has felt because of Libby's actions. But Libby is the complete opposite. She wants to pretend like everything's fine. She wants to act like nothing has happened. She just wants to have a fun time with her sister and just move on as if everything has been rainbows and butterflies the whole time. And so the tension this creates is part of what makes this story interesting and compelling. And honestly, I would have dedicated even more time to it because it really had so much potential for even more than what happened. But I do like that ultimately this is a story about sisterhood and about these two sisters trying to be stronger together. Something else I enjoyed about this book were the side romances. I was particularly partial to Libby and Della because my sapphic ass is just obsessed. I could have had so much more of them and be so happy about it. And that's because Della was just a very interesting character in general. One of my favorite things about Della's character is that she really was deeply in love with Libby, and she really was interested in forming a relationship with Mina. She genuinely wanted all of them to get along and for all of them to have a nice and close-knit relationship, which I appreciated because I feel like that's not really something we see a lot in books. The girlfriend, boyfriend, or partner of the character trying really hard to get along with the sibling in particular of the person they're dating. And then it was a genuine thing. Stella really wanted Mina to feel like she could trust her, she could rely on her, and that she would be there for her. And honestly, I also have to admit that I was a bit surprised that Della and Libby were so openly together because this book is set in the mid-90s, so I was kind of like, wow, they're really out there living it. And so I was kind of like, that's not quite expected, but I wouldn't know how accurate or not it is considering the fact that I was born in 96. So it's not like I have answers, but I have a feeling that it's not the most realistic, but it's not really something that I would complain about the book because I enjoyed having a queer relationship as a relatively central aspect of this book. And now Mina also had her own love interest. She had Jared. Jared was very charming, very nice. Overall, I liked him and I liked the dynamic that he and Mina had. I have to admit that I felt like their relationship was a bit rushed. I did not feel like it was paced properly. At the start, I was very into it because it was very cute and sweet, and I liked that they were bonding over New Orleans myths and mysteries. I really liked that aspect of their relationship, how they were both basically horror nerds. That was really cute, but then it kind of just snapped forward and just suddenly they were very cutesy and very together in a way that I was just like, I needed this to slow down for my personal preference. So yeah, overall I think the book, the weakest link of it is the pacing. Overall, I felt like the pacing just needed a little bit more tightening, a little bit more work so that it felt smoother to read, and so like things felt like they happened at a steadier pace. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed this book. It wasn't a new favorite, but it was a fun time for the purposes of why I read it, which was just basically to have something to do, to have a spooky read in the middle of March. So overall, I enjoyed this book. I would recommend this book to anyone who's looking for a YA spooky read that's not going to be like super terrifying, but that is very comfortable with tropes, that you will have fun with, and that you can just kind of get lost in it, like not think about it too much, not think about it too hard, and just let yourself be swept up by the story and just have a good time. It's kind of like watching a horror movie that you don't think it's the most amazing, fantastic horror movie out there, but since you already love horror, you don't need it to be the most fantastic horror movie out there. You're there just because you like the genre, you enjoy it, so you're just going to vibe there. You're just there for the vibes. So I would recommend it to people who are just looking for that. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.